10 years ago or longer, we never would have anticipated this moment where Marty and I get to go down together underground in the money pit.
They found it after more than 2 centuries of searching, after generations of theories, failed excavations, destroyed equipment, shattered fortunes, and lives consumed by a mystery buried beneath a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia. They finally found it. Not a rumor, not another empty chamber, not another misleading signal buried in the dirt. A vault, a real underground structure hidden deep beneath Oak Island, confirmed by advanced scanning technology to be artificial, deliberate, and impossible to explain as a natural formation. Someone built it, someone sealed it, and for 220 years, the world has argued over why. And standing at the center of the discovery is Rick Lagina, the man who believed in this mystery when almost nobody else did. The man who spent decades chasing clues most people dismissed as fantasy. Season after season, setback after setback, Rick Lagina refused to walk away. Now, for the first time in modern history, the island may finally be giving up its secret. Because according to the scans, the historical analysis, and the underground mapping data, the contents hidden inside this vault could be worth more than $540 million. $540 million. Buried beneath an island that has defeated every search attempt for over 2 centuries. Tonight, we're breaking down everything: how the vault was discovered, what the scans actually revealed, why experts believe the structure was intentionally protected, and what Rick Lagina said the moment the results came back confirmed. If you love mysteries, hidden history, and discoveries that sound impossible until they happen, subscribe right now, because stories like this are why this channel exists. And now, let's go beneath the surface of the island that refused to surrender its secret. Before we get into what Rick Lagina may have uncovered, you have to understand what Oak Island has done to every person who chased its secrets before him. Because this supposed $540 million discovery didn't appear out of nowhere. It sits at the end of more than 2 centuries of obsession, failed excavations, financial ruin, unanswered questions, and heartbreaking setbacks. This isn't just another treasure story anymore. For many people, it feels like the possible conclusion to the longest-running treasure hunt the world has ever known. The story began back in 1795, when 3 teenage boys exploring a small island off the coast of Nova Scotia noticed something strange beneath an old oak tree, a circular depression in the ground that looked unnatural. Curious, they started digging. What they uncovered immediately raised bigger questions. As they went deeper, they found carefully placed wooden platforms appearing at regular intervals underground. Massive oak layers every 10 feet. Stone markers, signs of deliberate engineering. It looked less like a random pit and more like something intentionally constructed to hide and protect whatever was buried below. But the deeper they dug, the worse things became. Eventually, the shaft flooded with seawater, stopping the excavation completely. And that was the beginning of Oak Island's long history of defeating almost everyone who tried to unlock it. Over the next 2 centuries, countless expeditions poured money, manpower, and technology into the island. Fortunes disappeared into excavation projects that ended in collapse, flooding, or total failure. Again and again, search teams believed they were close, only for the island's underground flood system to destroy their progress almost instantly. And that flood system is one of the biggest reasons the mystery became legendary. According to many researchers, these were not natural water channels. They appeared to be engineered tunnels connected to the ocean, designed to activate once diggers reached certain depths. In other words, whoever built this system may have created one of the most effective underground traps in history, a defense mechanism powerful enough to defeat both early treasure hunters with hand tools and modern teams equipped with industrial pumps and advanced machinery. The island's history is also marked by tragedy. Across decades of excavation attempts, 6 people have lost their lives searching for whatever lies underground. That fact became tied to one of Oak Island's most chilling legends. The belief that 7 people must die before the treasure is finally revealed. 6 deaths have already occurred, meaning, according to the legend, 1 still remains. Rick Lagina has always been aware of that story. Anyone seriously involved with Oak Island eventually is. Every excavation, every descent underground, every safety decision carries the weight of that history. Because Oak Island has never behaved like a normal archaeological site. To the people who work there, it feels more like a place with its own rules, a place that punishes mistakes and refuses to surrender its secrets easily. What separates Rick Lagina from many of the searchers who came before him isn't just the money or the advanced equipment his team brought to the island, it's his mindset. Rick never claimed he knew exactly what was buried beneath Oak Island. He simply believed the mystery was real enough to deserve an answer. And for years, that belief was tested over and over again through discoveries that hinted at something extraordinary without ever fully proving it. Now, according to the latest scan results, that patience may finally have paid off. Because the newly identified underground vault changes the entire conversation surrounding Oak Island. Suddenly, decades of strange evidence, historical records, engineered structures, and unexplained discoveries no longer feel disconnected. They begin to look like pieces of the same puzzle. And the breakthrough came from technology powerful enough to ask the island questions in ways previous generations never could. For more than 220 years, the real mystery was never whether something existed underground. The evidence for artificial construction had already convinced many researchers long ago. The real mystery was much more specific. What exactly was down there? How deep was it? How was it arranged? And most importantly, how could anyone reach it without triggering the flood system that had stopped every expedition before? Modern scanning technology completely changed that search. The system deployed by the Lagina team went far beyond traditional treasure hunting equipment. This wasn't just better digging machinery or improved metal detectors. These were advanced imaging systems capable of mapping the underground structure of the island with a level of detail earlier searchers could never achieve. Ground-penetrating radar was used to identify deep subsurface anomalies. Magnetometer arrays searched for metallic signatures and engineered spaces hidden underground. Even muon tomography, a technique adapted from particle physics that tracks cosmic particles passing through the Earth, was reportedly used to detect dense objects and hidden voids at depths beyond the reach of ordinary scanning systems. And when the data finally came back, researchers say the results were impossible to ignore. Deep below the area connected to the original money pit, but offset in a way that explains why previous excavations repeatedly missed it, the scans identified something extraordinary. A massive underground void, not a natural cavern formed over thousands of years by water slowly eroding underground rock, not some random geological collapse hidden beneath the island. What the scans reportedly revealed was something far more difficult to explain away. A chamber with dimensions, boundaries, and structural symmetry too precise to be accidental. In other words, an engineered space. According to the combined survey data, the underground chamber appears intentionally constructed, with proportions and internal layout patterns that strongly suggest human design rather than natural formation. And the size of that chamber matters. Based on the imaging results, researchers believe it is large enough to contain the amount of material connected to the estimated $540 million valuation. Even more intriguing is where the structure is located. The chamber sits offset from the original money pit in a way that suddenly makes sense of 2 centuries of failed excavation attempts. Search teams kept digging directly into the wrong location, while the actual target may have remained protected nearby behind the island's elaborate flood system. The depth and positioning of the vault also explain why flooding repeatedly destroyed previous efforts with almost surgical precision. But the scans did more than identify an empty underground space. Magnetometry readings taken around the chamber detected a major metallic anomaly beneath the island. And according to the geophysical interpretation of that data, the signal pattern is reportedly consistent with dense concentrations of precious metals, specifically gold and silver, in quantities large enough to support the staggering $540 million estimate. When the complete scan analysis was finally delivered, the atmosphere inside the room reportedly changed immediately. Throughout the investigation, the team had avoided jumping to conclusions. Preliminary readings were treated cautiously. Every anomaly was checked and rechecked. Nobody wanted another false alarm in a mystery already filled with dead ends and exaggerated claims. But when the final data set was processed and the full results were laid out in technical detail, those present described a long silence settling over the room. Then Lagina quietly broke it with 4 simple words. It is really there. And that realization raises an even bigger question. If something worth hundreds of millions of dollars truly exists beneath Oak Island, who put it there in the first place? Because the discovery may explain what is underground, but it does not fully explain why. For more than 200 years, countless theories have tried to answer that question. Some are clearly more speculative than others, but several of the most serious theories share one important detail. They point toward organized groups with the resources, engineering knowledge, and motivation required to create something this complex, because nothing about the Oak Island system looks simple. The original shaft, the layered construction, the flood tunnels, the underground engineering, all of it suggests planning on a massive scale. This was not one person hiding valuables in secret. It appears far closer to a coordinated operation designed to conceal something permanently and protect it from recovery at almost any cost. One of the most famous explanations is the Knights Templar theory. According to this idea, the vault may trace back to the Knights Templar, the powerful medieval order that accumulated enormous wealth before being violently dismantled in 1307. Historians know the Templars controlled major financial resources, but questions still surround what happened to portions of their treasure after the order collapsed. Some researchers believe ships connected to the Templars disappeared from European ports during that period and may have crossed the Atlantic long before the officially accepted timeline of European exploration in North America. Supporters of the theory argue that Oak Island's engineering complexity matches the capabilities of an organization like the Templars. Another theory focuses on Freemasonry. Researchers have pointed to alleged Masonic symbols discovered on the island, as well as architectural and geometric patterns in the original pit design that resemble principles associated with Masonic construction traditions. Historical records also confirm the presence of Masonic communities in Nova Scotia during the period when Oak Island first became widely known. Then there is the Royalist theory, which connects the mystery to the aftermath of the English Civil War. According to this explanation, Supporters of King Charles I may have transported valuable royal assets, possibly including parts of the crown jewels or treasury, across the Atlantic after the king's execution in 1649, hiding them somewhere remote enough to remain secure until political conditions changed. What makes the new scan data so fascinating is that it does not fully prove any single theory, but it does support the idea that whatever exists beneath the island is large, deliberate, and historically significant. The dimensions of the chamber and the metallic readings are reportedly consistent with enormous quantities of valuable material: gold and silver coins, jewelry, artifacts, and possibly even historical documents sealed underground alongside the treasure itself. And that last possibility may be the most important of all, because the true value of the vault may not be financial. The money matters. $540 million is an extraordinary number, but the historical implications could be far greater. If documents or records exist inside that chamber, they could potentially reshape parts of what historians believe about early exploration, hidden wealth networks, or powerful organizations operating long before modern historical records fully begin. That possibility is part of what kept Rick Lagina searching for so many years. For him, Oak Island was never just about gold. It was about answers, about solving a mystery that survived generation after generation while consuming the lives of the people who tried to uncover it. And now, after more than 220 years, the island may finally be close to revealing what it has been protecting all along. Because when you step back and look at the full history, Oak Island stops feeling like an ordinary treasure hunt. It becomes something much larger, one of the longest and most relentless searches in modern history. For more than 2 centuries, Oak Island has represented something far bigger than a treasure hunt. It became a story about obsession, about belief strong enough to survive failure after failure, about people refusing to walk away from a mystery even when the world around them insisted there was nothing left to find. Few searches in modern history have been documented this intensely or argued over this passionately. The island has swallowed fortunes, consumed entire lifetimes, and in 6 known cases, claimed lives. It has inspired endless theories and divided historians, engineers, treasure hunters, and skeptics for generations. Some arrived convinced the mystery was real and left defeated. Others came to disprove the legend and walked away, believing there was something beneath that island they still could not explain. And now, after all that time, the secret may finally belong to Rick Lagina. There's something fitting about that ending, not just emotionally, although the emotional side of the story matters, but because Rick Lagina approached Oak Island differently from many who came before him. He never treated the island like a business project or a fast path to hidden wealth. He came to it because of fascination, because as a young boy in Michigan, he read about this mysterious island and felt drawn to it in a way he never completely lost. Decades later, he stood on the island itself, still carrying that same curiosity, but now, with the resources and determination to pursue answers others could only dream about reaching. What made his search different was the way he handled the evidence. When discoveries supported a theory, he explored it. When new information contradicted earlier assumptions, he adjusted course instead of forcing the evidence to fit an old belief. As technology improved and the geological understanding of the island changed, he changed with it. There was no attachment to ego, no refusal to reconsider old conclusions simply because they had already become part of the story. That combination, persistence without arrogance, may be what ultimately changed everything. because the discovery of the underground vault did not happen because of luck alone. It came after years of collapsed shafts, flooded excavations, inconclusive evidence, technical failures, and constant criticism from people convinced the entire Oak Island mystery was nothing more than 2 centuries of exaggerated folklore built around natural formations underground. Rick Lagina kept going anyway. He answered skepticism with more research. He answered failed digs with better methods. He answered setbacks by adapting instead of quitting. And over time, the search itself evolved, from traditional treasure hunting into something closer to a full-scale scientific investigation. In many ways, that persistence became the real story of Oak Island. The island resisted every attempt to unlock it. Flood systems destroyed excavations. Tunnels collapsed. Promising discoveries led to dead ends. Year after year, the mystery remained just out of reach. But instead of growing reckless or desperate, Rick Lagina seemed to develop a deeper respect for the island and for the complexity of whatever had been hidden there. Almost as if he understood something earlier searchers missed. Oak Island was never going to surrender its secrets easily. And now, after 220 years, it finally may have. For the people who followed this mystery across decades, whether through books, documentaries, research archives, or television, this moment feels like the payoff to one of the longest-running stories in modern history. The confirmation that the mystery was not imaginary, that the feeling generations of people had about this island may actually have been justified. Because beneath the surface of Oak Island, there now appears to be something real, something physical, a verified underground structure protected for centuries beneath layers of engineering designed to keep it hidden. 220 years, 6 recorded deaths, countless failed searches, an entire history built around one unanswered question. And standing at the center of it is a man from Michigan who once read a magazine article as a child and never forgot it. Now that same man stands over what scans suggest could be a verified vault worth more than $540 million, hidden beneath an island that spent centuries refusing to give up its secrets. But maybe the most important part of the story is not the treasure itself, it's what happens next. Because if this vault is eventually opened, the discovery could become far more than a financial headline. Whatever is inside may answer historical questions people have debated for generations. It may reveal who engineered the island's underground system, why the vault was hidden there, and what was considered valuable enough to protect at such extraordinary lengths. For the first time in more than 2 centuries, Oak Island may finally be close to revealing the truth. And if that moment really is coming, then the next chapter of this story could become the most important one the island has ever seen. So stay with us, because we're going to follow every discovery, every breakthrough, and every answer that emerges from beneath Oak Island. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the greatest chapter of this mystery may only just be beginning.